All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for real people just like you and just like me. So, Ted Nugent is out there and he's talking about Eddie Van Halen. And it's cool to know that Nugent was a huge fan of Eddie Van Halen. How could he not be, right? According to Nuge, Van Halen was actually opening up for Nugent at one point, which doesn't surprise me because Nugent was one of the biggest touring artists, acts, whatever, however you want to say it, of the 1970s. I mean, he broke records selling tickets and selling them out quickly. And this is pretty much with zero top 40 airplay. I mean, Ted Nugent did not make music for the Billboard Top 40. He made it for FM rock stations and was a pioneer on guitar. He came up during the time when the British invasion guitar players were out there, guys like Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page and Eric Clapton. And then there was Ted Nugent, who was a real freakazoid on guitar. I mean, he did things that nobody else could do or were doing at that time. Doesn't mean he's better than those aforementioned Brit invaders, but Nugent, he was a force of nature all by himself with the Amboy Dukes. Did some things, very psychedelic things, very intense guitar parts and guitar solos, searing guitar solos. And, he had that Birdland guitar, which is kind of famous or infamous, depending on how you want to look at it. But during a recent interview, Nugent said that he was really sad, of course, about losing Eddie. And he said that Eddie was a masterful virtuoso on guitar and a musical genius who had a golden heart and was loved by everyone. So even Ted Nugent, who probably didn't align with Eddie Van Halen and the rest of Van Halen on their views on other issues outside of music, we'll say, still recognizes how amazing Eddie Van Halen was. And he doesn't do this interview and say something like, hey, I could do what Eddie does, or, I was better than Eddie and I was doing this long before Eddie. Nope, just a flat out recognition of a brilliant guitar player. And just a little side note about Nuge. He should be in the Hall of Fame. I've said this before. I know why he's not. Everybody knows what he's never going to get nominated probably for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He's got no advocates, by the way, in the main media that does rock. I never see anybody saying, hey, why isn't Ted Nugent in the Hall of Fame? Eddie Trunk, for instance, talks a lot about influence. One of the reasons he thought Bon Jovi should get into the Hall of Fame before, like Def Leppard or whoever that they got in before, which you just scratch your head and you go, influence? Where's Blue Oyster Cult if you want to talk about influence, Where's Steppenwolf if you want to talk influence? Nugent was there before Eddie. Nugent was there before a lot of people who've already gotten in. And he's not going to get nominated because of what he believes. And that's the bottom line. It's sad. But I think people should really take note of his work as an artist, as a solo artist, and with the Amboy Dukes. Maybe he's just not your cup of tea. And I get that. I mean, his style is definitely unique. And I think he certainly deserves a spot in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame based on some of the people who've gotten in. And by the way, Ted Nugent never sold out, really. I mean, he did a little bit in the 80s. He tried to make his sound a little less crazy in Motor City, and he went more for a slicker, smoother AOR type sound. But underneath it all, you still got that guitar work. And obviously, he was in the damn Yankees, which certainly not going to win him any points with the Hall of Fame committee, right? But it's cool that he acknowledges Eddie Van Halen. It's cool that he recognizes his impact on the business. And that's a guy who, if you get a compliment from him and you're a guitarist, then you're probably doing something right. And obviously, Eddie did pretty much everything right, and is still being talked about many months after his passing. And it'll continue because, like I said to my friend yesterday, there are no Eddie Van Halens in the bullpen warming up to replace the one we just lost. So it's sad, but it's probably the future of music for the foreseeable future.